picture the organic carrots in your crisper drawer right now.
Yeah, yeah.
You probably bought them because, well, you assume they're completely pesticide-free, packed with, I don't know, significantly more vitamins than the cheaper ones, and undeniably better for the planet.
Right. That's the standard assumption.
But what if the source material we're diving into today proves that almost every single one of those assumptions is mathematically, chemically, and biologically flawed?
It is a pretty profound realization. I mean, when you really look at it.
Yeah.
You stand there in the produce aisle of your local grocery store, staring at two essentially indistinguishable vegetables. One has that premium organic sticker, and one is just conventional.
And it feels like a test, right?
Exactly. You're asked to make a choice that feels like a moral and nutritional test, but that choice is heavily influenced by a marketing narrative that often just actively ignores the actual agronomy and nutritional science.
Okay, let's unpack this, because our mission in today's deep dive is to cut entirely through that marketing buzz.
We definitely need to.
We've got this massive stack of research notes, agricultural data, and peer-reviewed studies comparing organic and conventional vegetables.
Tons of data to get through.
Yeah, we're looking at the strict rule books, the molecular nutrition, the actual pesticide data, and the real-world environmental impacts.
Right.
The goal is to answer the ultimate question for you. Are organic vegetables really superior? And, are they actually worth that premium price tag, or are you just paying for a feeling?
To get to the bottom of that, we really have to start at the soil level.
Okay, the soil.
Yeah, before we can even judge the vegetables themselves, we need to examine the vastly different agricultural rule books these farmers are forced to follow.
Right.
When you see an organic sticker, you're looking at a vegetable grown under a highly specific exclusionary certification process.
It's super strict.
Extremely. It is a system that strictly prohibits the use of most synthetic pesticides, artificial fertilizers, and genetically engineered seeds.
Right, but it's not just like a checklist of things you can't spray.
No, not at all.
Looking strictly at the agricultural data in our sources, becoming an organic farm is, well, it's a grueling process. You don't just stop using synthetic nitrogen one day and slap a sticker on your tomatoes the next.
Right. The certification process typically requires a rigorous 3-year transition period.
Wait, 3 whole years?
3 whole years. During that time, a farmer has to adhere to all the strict organic regulations, managing the land without synthetic inputs, but, and here's the kicker, they cannot legally sell their crops as organic.
Oh, wow. So they don't get that premium price tag to offset their costs.
Exactly. Not until the soil is thoroughly audited and deemed completely free of prohibited substances.
That sounds incredibly expensive to just, sustain.
It is. And because they can't rely on those synthetic inputs, organic farmers have to lean heavily on intense biological management.
Like what?
Well, they use complex crop rotations to prevent soil depletion. They use massive-scale composting to feed the earth. The entire goal here is a holistic, closed-loop ecosystem approach to farming.
I mean, I definitely understand the appeal of that, but it brings up a major point of friction for me.
Oh.
Yeah. When you talk about avoiding synthetic fertilizers, I immediately think of how plants actually eat.
Right, the mechanism.
Let's break down the mechanism there.
Yeah.
Because from my understanding, conventional farming's use of synthetic fertilizer is basically like an IV drip of pure, readily available nitrogen directly to the plant's roots.
That's a highly accurate way to visualize it, actually.
Immediate and highly efficient, right?
Very efficient. Synthetic nitrogen is water-soluble. When it's applied to a conventional field, the plant roots absorb it almost instantaneously.
It just bypasses the soil entirely.
Yeah, it completely bypasses the need for complex soil biology.
Mm-hmm.
Organic farming, on the other hand, requires feeding the soil microbiome first.
So you have to feed the dirt before you can feed the plant.
Exactly. You apply compost or manure, and you literally have to wait for billions of microbes and fungi to break that organic matter down.
Which takes time.
A lot of time. It slowly releases the nitrogen in a form the plant roots can actually absorb.
Which means organic is inherently slower and, I would guess, less predictable.
Much less predictable.
So looking at conventional farming, with its modern chemical inputs and high-tech irrigation, isn't organic essentially just a regression to older, inherently less efficient technology?
Well, it depends on how you measure efficiency.
Because if we rely solely on microbes breaking down compost, could we even feed 8 billion people year-round?
What's fascinating here is that we are looking at two systems with completely valid but completely competing primary directive.
Competing directives.
Yeah. Conventional farming is explicitly engineered for maximum yield and absolute reliability. Those synthetic inputs drastically reduce crop losses and accelerate growth.
Which is why the food is cheaper.
Exactly. This system is what keeps food highly affordable and ensures a consistent mass-scale supply of vegetables for the global population across all seasons.
Makes it.
One system prioritizes long-term soil biology, while the other prioritizes immediate, large-scale food security.
Okay, but if the organic soil is being curated that meticulously fed by this rich, complex microbiome instead of an IV drip of synthetic chemicals, it seems entirely logical to assume the final product is a vastly superior nutritional powerhouse.
You would think so.
Right, like the premium price tag practically guarantees you're buying a super vegetable, right?
No.
Let's look at the actual nutritional data from our sources.
This is where the most persistent marketing illusion shatters.
Really?
Yeah. The research clearly and repeatedly shows that both organic and conventional vegetables provide nearly identical levels of essential vitamins and minerals.
Wait, identical.
Nearly identical, yes. Whether you buy the premium organic bunch of spinach or the affordable conventional bunch, both are going to be excellent interchangeable sources of exactly what your body needs.
Like what, specifically?
You know, vitamin C, potassium, folate, and dietary fiber.
So what does this all mean?
It means the label doesn't change the core nutrition.
Are you seriously telling me that after all that intense soil management, after paying double at the register, my organic carrot isn't magically giving me more vitamin C than the cheap conventional one?
It absolutely is not. The vitamin C content is fundamentally comparable.
That is wild.
To give you a concrete example from our sources, there was a massive, highly comprehensive review conducted by Stanford University.
Okay.
They analyzed over 200 distinct studies comparing the nutritional value of organic and conventional foods.
200 studies is a lot.
It is. And they found virtually no consistent differences in the vitamin content.
None at all.
The only nutrient where organic showed a slight, statistically significant edge was in phosphorus.
Phosphorus.
Yeah, phosphorus.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, virtually zero human beings on a modern diet are actually deficient in.
You are not wrong.
We get plenty of phosphorus from almost everything we eat.
Exactly. A marginal increase in phosphorus is not exactly a nutritional revolution.
Right.
Now, to be perfectly precise, there is one area where organic vegetables do sometimes show slightly higher levels.
Oh, here we go.
And that is in certain plant compounds known as secondary metabolites, particularly antioxidants.
Okay, finally. A win for the premium price tag. More antioxidants.
But the mechanism of why they have more antioxidants is the truly fascinating part.
Why is that?
It's not because the soil is inherently better. It's actually because the organic plants are far more stressed out.
Wait, stressed out, like the plants are having a hard time growing.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Because organic farmers cannot use highly effective synthetic pesticides, the organic crops are often subjected to more frequent attacks.
Attacks from what?
You know, insects, fungi, and environmental stressors.
Oh, I see.
When a plant is being attacked by a pest, it can't exactly run away.
Right.
It has to defend itself chemically. It ramps up the production of natural defense compounds to fight off the bugs or the disease.
And those compounds are?
Those defense compounds, like polyphenols and flavonoids, just happen to be what we humans call antioxidants.
That is wild.
Yeah.
So you aren't paying for a plant that was pampered in perfect soil.
Yeah.
You're paying for a plant that essentially had to fight for its life in the field, and its biological stress response provides a tiny bump in human antioxidants.
Exactly. And again, the overall differences in these compounds are incredibly modest.
So it's not even a huge bump.
No, not at all. The human digestive system doesn't care about the certification label on the skin of the vegetable.
It just wants the nutrients.
Right. The ultimate health benefit comes simply from the presence of the cellular nutrients, and the absolute best way to get those nutrients is by eating a higher volume of vegetables overall.
Regardless of the agricultural philosophy that grew them.
Exactly.
Like pivot. Because if the nutrient profiles are basically a mathematical tie, then there's really only one major reason left why people aggressively defend the premium price of organic.
Safety.
Safety. Let's tackle the biggest elephant in the produce aisle. People buy organic because they want to avoid feeding their families chemicals.
And looking strictly at the safety data, we find another major area of public misunderstanding.
Really?
Yeah. It is undeniably true that organic vegetables generally contain lower levels of synthetic pesticide residues.
because they aren't allowed to use them.
Right, the organic rulebook prohibits them, so you naturally find fewer synthetic traces on the final product.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. A massive portion of the public equates the word organic with pesticide-free.
Oh, constantly.
But our sources make the reality incredibly clear. Organic farming relies heavily on pesticides.
They absolutely do. Agriculture, at its core, is a constant biological war against insects, fungi, and competitive weeds that want to consume the crop before humans do.
Right.
Organic farmers are fighting the exact same war. They are just restricted to a different arsenal.
A natural arsenal.
Yes. They must use pesticides derived from natural sources rather than synthesized in a lab.
Let me stop you right there and just push back a bit. Because if I'm paying a massive premium specifically to avoid chemicals, and you're telling me organic farmers are still spraying their crops with pesticides, how is that not essentially false advertising?
Right.
Like, what makes a natural chemical inherently safer than a synthetic one?
That is the critical flaw in the natural is better fallacy.
A fallacy.
Yeah. Just because a chemical is extracted from nature does not automatically mean it's benign to human health, nor does it mean it's gentle on the environment.
Do we have an example from the sources?
Take copper sulfate, for example.
Okay, copper sulfate.
It is a highly common, heavily utilized organic fungicide.
And it's natural.
It is natural. It is also a heavy metal that can accumulate in the soil over decades and is highly toxic to aquatic life.
Wow. Toxic to aquatic life, but allowed in organic farming.
Exactly. Sometimes an organic farmer has to spray a natural pesticide far more frequently and in much higher volumes to achieve the exact same pest control effect as a single targeted application of a synthetic pesticide.
So the idea that organic equals zero chemicals is a complete myth.
A total myth.
We're just comparing a heavily regulated list of synthetic sprays against a heavily regulated list of natural sprays.
That's a great way to put it.
But what about the conventional side? Because people are terrified of synthetic pesticide residues causing long-term harm.
That fear is largely driven by a misunderstanding of modern chemical detection.
How so?
Our scientific instruments have become incredibly sensitive. We can now detect chemical residues down to parts per billion.
Parts per billion.
Yes. To visualize that, 1 part per billion is equivalent to a single drop of water diluted into an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Oh my gosh, that is tiny.
It is microscopic.
So just because a lab can detect a microscopic trace of a synthetic pesticide on a conventional pepper doesn't mean that trace is biologically relevant to the human body.
Correct. The core principle of toxicology is that the dose makes the poison.
The dose makes the poison.
Government regulatory agencies like the EPA establish extremely strict safety limits known as tolerances.
And how do they calculate those?
They calculate the absolute maximum amount of a chemical a person could consume daily for their entire life without any adverse effects.
Okay.
And then they legally set the allowed limit on food 100 to 1,000 times lower than that safety threshold.
That is a massive safety buffer.
Massive.
So practically speaking, for the person standing at their kitchen sink getting ready to make dinner, if both types of farming use pesticides and both might carry microscopic residues, what is the actual protocol?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the protocol is brilliantly simple. Wash your produce.
Just wash it.
Thoroughly washing your vegetables under running water, perhaps with a little friction from a vegetable brush, is highly effective at removing surface dirt, bacteria, and a significant portion of any remaining surface pesticide residues.
Whether that residue is organic copper sulfate or a conventional synthetic.
Exactly. You are not choosing between poison and pure. You are choosing between two highly monitored, fundamentally safe food streams.
If nutrition and safety are essentially a wash, let's look at the subjective experience and the environmental reality.
Okay, taste and environment.
Yeah, because people swear that organic vegetables just inherently taste better. They say a conventional tomato tastes like watery cardboard, and an organic tomato tastes like a vibrant, complex piece of fruit.
Taste is fascinating because it is entirely real to the person experiencing it. But the science of flavor tells a deeply nuanced story.
Right.
Flavor does not come from a certification rulebook.
Where does it come from then?
The flavor profile of a vegetable depends on its Brix level, which is the measure of sugars and complex minerals inside the plant tissue.
Brix level, okay.
And those levels are dictated by the specific genetic variety of the seed, the soil temperature, how ripe it was when it was severed from the plant, and exactly how it was stored during transit.
The transit part is crucial.
Very crucial.
Because from my understanding of the chemistry, the second a vegetable is picked, its sugars begin converting into starches to survive.
Exactly. The biological clock starts ticking the moment of harvest.
So, a conventional tomato from a local farm down the road, allowed to fully ripen on the vine and brought to a farmer's market the next morning,
Yes.
is going to objectively taste vastly superior to a certified organic tomato that was picked completely green and hard so it could survive a 2-week cross-country journey in the back of a refrigerated truck.
Without question. Freshness and proximity have a profoundly larger impact on human flavor perception than the farming methodology.
That makes total sense.
When consumers rave about how much better organic food tastes, they are very often conflating the organic label with the benefits of buying local, freshly harvested produce from a neighborhood market.
Okay, so the flavor is about logistics, not labels.
Essentially, yes.
But let's tackle the final pillar, which is the earth itself.
The environmental impact.
A massive contingent of buyers chooses organic, specifically as a vote for planetary sustainability. They want to protect biodiversity and, avoid dumping synthetic nitrogen into the waterways.
And organic farming has incredibly strong, thoroughly documented environmental merits in that specific regard.
It does.
Oh, definitely. By eliminating synthetic fertilizers and relying on compost and complex crop rotation, organic farms genuinely promote superior local soil health.
That's great.
They foster much higher biodiversity in the immediate area. You get more beneficial insects, more earthworms, healthier microbial ecosystems. They generally have less chemical runoff into local watersheds.
But, and this is a big but, there is a catch.
There is always a catch.
Because looking strictly at the agronomy data in our sources, conventional farming holds a massive environmental trump card regarding the single most critical finite resource we have on this planet. Land.
This raises an important question about how we define macroscopic sustainability. We established earlier that conventional farming is engineered for maximum yield.
Right.
It produces vastly more food per acre than an organic farm.
Which brings us to the land use paradox.
The paradox, yes.
Yeah. I like to think of this using a housing analogy. Organic farming is essentially like a sprawling neighborhood of single-family homes with big backyards.
Nice. Idyllic.
It is arguably a much nicer immediate environment, but to house 1 million people, you have to pave over miles and miles of wild nature to fit everyone in.
Right.
Conventional farming is like a massive high-rise apartment building. It is industrial, it requires intense infrastructure, but it houses those same 1 million people on a tiny fraction of the physical footprint, leaving the surrounding forests completely untouched.
That analogy perfectly isolates the tension.
Does it track with the data?
Perfectly. If the global agricultural system suddenly switched entirely to organic farming tomorrow, global yields would drop precipitously.
People would starve.
To produce the exact same caloric baseline to feed 8 billion people, we would have to clear-cut millions of acres of global forests and wild habitats to create new farmland.
Which defeats the whole purpose of being eco-friendly.
Exactly. So while organic is undeniably fantastic for localized soil health and immediate biodiversity, conventional farming is the only reason we aren't currently plowing under the remaining rainforests to grow enough calories.
It sounds like the absolute ideal scenario isn't a dogmatic loyalty to one sticker over the other.
Not at all.
The real future of agriculture requires ruthlessly stealing the best ideas from both, taking the complex soil microbiome management of organic farming and merging it with the ultra-efficient, land-saving technologies and targeted synthetics of conventional farming.
That hybrid approach is exactly where the vanguard of agricultural science is currently focused.
Really?
Yes, we need localized ecosystem health, but we cannot sacrifice the sheer caloric efficiency required to prevent global food shortages.
Let's bring this entire deep dive back down to your wallet and your dinner plate.
For practical application,
We need a final, highly practical verdict. Why is organic so aggressively expensive in the first place? And what should you actually do when you're standing in front of those misted shelves?
the premium cost of organic produce is simply an economic reflection of its structural inefficiency.
Because it's slower and yields less.
Right. Without highly effective synthetic herbicides, organic farmers often have to hire manual labor crews to physically pull weeds.
Wow, by hand.
Or they burn more diesel fuel-driving tractors to till the soil mechanically. Furthermore, because their crop yields per acre are mathematically lower, they simply have less product to sell.
Supply and demand.
Exactly. When you combine higher labor costs, lower physical output, and the expensive administrative fees of maintaining continuous organic certification audits, the retail price naturally skyrockets.
So you're paying for the physical labor, the lower biological efficiency, and the bureaucratic paperwork.
Pretty much.
Which means, for the vast majority of families facing rising grocery bills, buying exclusively organic is completely unfeasible.
Very unfeasible.
And based on everything we've unpacked from the data, that is perfectly fine. The absolute healthiest choice you can make isn't agonizing over a certified sticker.
No, it's not.
The healthiest choice is consistently filling your plate with a massive variety of colorful vegetables, regardless of the rule book used to grow them.
That is the ultimate evidence-based takeaway.
She's eat your veggies.
If buying organic aligns with your personal philosophy regarding local soil health and it comfortably fits your budget, by all means, support those farmers.
Right.
But from a strict human health and safety perspective, you are getting phenomenal nutrition and heavily regulated, safe food either way. The only genuinely wrong choice you can make in the produce aisle is skipping the vegetables entirely, because the organic ones gave you sticker shock.
It's all about stepping away from the marketing fear and embracing the actual science.
Absolutely.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, totally different paradigm to mull over.
Oh, what's that?
We've spent the last 20 minutes intensely debating these two massive traditional agricultural systems that rely on shipping food thousands of miles across continents.
Right, the logistics of it all.
But what if the real future of food isn't about agonizing over organic versus conventional at a mega supermarket at all? What if the next great agricultural revolution is actually hyper-local, community vertical farming?
No, that is interesting.
Imagine walking down your street to a retrofitted warehouse that uses perfectly optimized LED light spectrums and hydroponic water loops to grow massive yields of genuinely pesticide-free produce 365 days a year right in the middle of your city.
The efficiency on that would be incredible.
It would completely solve the massive land use issues of organic. It would eliminate the synthetic chemical runoff issues of conventional, and it would erase the long-distance transport degradation of both.
It really would.
It could render this entire debate over grocery store labels entirely obsolete.
That is exactly the kind of technological evolution that challenges our current limitations.
Yeah.
When we stop arguing over a label and start engineering for specific outcomes like absolute freshness and zero lane expansion, we completely redefine what true sustainability looks like for the next generation.
So the next time you are standing there holding those two identical bunches of carrots, remember, the real power isn't in deciphering the sticker. The power is in understanding the science, ignoring the marketing guild, and simply choosing to put those carrots in your cart.